Good morning, and thank you so much for joining me today. So, today we're going to work a little bit on the personal self, the individual, the natural state of the human. We're gonna also incorporate a little bit of what we did last time with shadows and egos. So just to recap before we go into it. So when we talk about shadows is like the past, things that kind of live on a loop in our head, in our mind, in our body. And the ego is connected to the future, this part of us that dreams, aspires, is inspired, is in our potential. And what I said was that the goal is to live in the present. And the ego and the shadow work together as an ecosystem when we know how to use it. And how that works is when we step into the ego self, rather than focusing on the things that the ego is showing you that you're going to do or you want to do, you step into the energy of the ego, which is the more confident self. Then what you're able to do is, with that energy, when you feel it in your body, you're able to go back around to the shadow when that shows up and communicate from the confident self. And when we're able to communicate and work together in ourselves rather than reject who we are, there's this sense of surrendering within that helps us align to our natural state. And rather than focusing on our weaknesses, we are able to really embody our strengths and not waste energy, but actually feel like life is giving us life. So with that, we will begin. Wherever you are, we're going to just take a couple rounds of breaths. And this is something you can do while you do whatever you're doing. The goal is to be in your body. So as you're moving through this day or you are still, I invite you to join us here in this breath work. So leaning back into yourself. So really leaning back in the chair, or if you're standing, lean back into yourself. Notice that posture if that's available to you. Take the neck and you're trying to stack it on top of the shoulders. So for a lot of us, our neck is leaning forward. So just lean the neck back so there is this just one smooth line from the neck and the head to the shoulders. So your neck is connected to your shoulders. Soften the jawline. Just notice the eyebrows and just begin to breathe here. Inhaling through the nose, placing the tongue at the roof of the mouth, inhaling through the nose, allowing oxygen to enter the body, allowing it to fill that space within and begin to cycle through you. What happens a lot of times here is the breath in itself creates movement. So some stuff that might be stuck or something that you might have trouble getting clarity about might begin to move. So if your body is still here and you just allow the energy to move through you, comfortable or uncomfortable, just follow the breath, follow the movement, and don't be afraid of what comes up because it's supported by your posture and your breath. That is the thing. The beauty is the body is the thing that will hold space for the emotion. The body is the first home. You are safe in this home. So when you're ready, you exhale. And obviously, you've been through a few cycles. And inhale again here. Take it slow, take it gentle. Notice if the shoulders have risen. Notice if you've moved forward. So lean back. Again, inhale. Begin to fill, and just take your time filling that inner space. Hold at the top if that's available to you. Notice what it feels like within. If that sense of fullness or wholeness is there. And when you're ready, begin to exhale. One more intentional round. So just notice if any parts of your body began to tense up. A lot of times the hips, the lower back. Lean back into that space. Realign the neck on top of the shoulders. Begin to inhale through the nose. Feel that warmth. Fill the belly. Notice the movement. Notice if your body is settling in. Notice if the tension or emotion is fizzling. If the nervous system is calmer now. And just feel. And when you're fully feeling complete in that space, then softly exhale, coming back to your natural rhythm. Beautiful. All right. So when we take that time to notice things about ourselves and define them, the beauty is that we're able to tweak things correctly. From a physical strength perspective, there's something called optimal strength. And when we're working on optimal strength, what we're trying to do is, especially when I'm working with somebody and trying to get them, their body and their, into a space where they can be operating from the most energetic space, where they're using all their strengths. One of the most important things to do, and this is from a physical perspective, from an emotional perspective, even from a business perspective, or just like a really, really personal space of like, where do you want to go? What you have to know is, what is the goal? What is the goal? So I'm just going to use physical strength here for a minute because I think it's an easy one to understand, and it'll give us some clarity. So if in my day, I want to be able to carry boxes, right? So especially in my business, right? Owning a skincare company, a lot of times I have to be able to lift heavy boxes, sometimes 50-pound boxes, and quite a few of them. So I need a certain amount of strength. I don't need strength just to lift one, but I need strength to lift, to move, to carry around. I need that stamina for a couple hours to be able to pour heavy things, lift heavy things, and be able to be consistent for a while in that space. So for that kind of thing, I would need a very specific set of muscles. So what would be important for me in that case would be to lift weights, to make sure that on a daily or weekly basis, I am lifting weights so that that strength is available to me, right? In my arms, in my back, that my back is strong, that my hips are strong, that my knees are strong, that I can lift without injury. If someone wanted to be a runner, for example, if they're going to have a lot of weight, they're carrying a lot of weight that is not, and let's say they start building a lot of muscle, it is going to be conflicting. The heaviness of the muscle is going to be conflicting with the flexibility of the weight. And what's going to happen is, if they want to run long distance, so if they want to run short distance, they might be able to handle it. But if they want to run long distance, that weight is going to compromise the distance. So when we talk about optimal strength, and this is Paul Chek talks about this a lot, but I'm going to translate it into our experience here. It's what we want to do is make sure that we have the right muscles. So when we talk about self-care, or we talk about that stamina throughout the day, right, in our daily life, if we have to know what it is that we want to achieve. Now, if we're in survival mode, a lot of times then all we're trying to do is survive. But if we want to come out of that survival mode and really be part of our day and participate, we have to really sit down with ourselves even before we begin and ask ourselves, what do I want to achieve today? What do I want to achieve this week? And in the long term, what is it that I want to be able to do? Now, we all have the limitations. But when we understand from a strength perspective that when we have clarity about those things that we want to do that we're having difficulty doing, most of the time it's, I don't have enough energy, I'm not educated enough, I don't have a skill set, or this is not the right time in my life, right? Or financially, you can say I financially don't have the means. So when you look into this stuff, it's important to know what it is that is in your way, or what is it that you need, right? So rather than looking at it from a deficit perspective, you have to look at it from what is it that you need to acquire? And most of the time it's a skill set. Most of the time it's understanding that the skill that we need to acquire is making sure that we are directing our energy, our day-to-day energy, in the right place. Because most of the time we're wasting energy throughout the day with things that aren't important. And then when it comes to the important things, we don't have enough stamina, energy, or skill set to get those things done. So a really important thing to know is, first of all, when in your day do you have the most focus? Right? So you have to ask yourself, when do I have the most focus? When do I have the most energy? When in my day am I feeling the most confident? And when we're able to take this, and if you're not sure, you can have a piece of paper and just start monitoring. Like, pay attention to, okay, I feel usually more confident at this time of the day. I feel more energetic at this time of the day. And obviously you could tweak your sleeping patterns, your eating habits, and your exercise habits as well. But when you're in your just natural state and you want to first observe where your strengths are. Then from there, you want to observe, okay, now where are those holes? Where am I struggling to complete? So a really easy one is, for example, when we talk about food, right? So food, for a lot of us, when we talk about diet's easier in the morning than we have enough discipline in the morning. Where we start having difficulty is later on in the day. And the reason that happens is either we haven't taken the time to fill ourselves right, so we haven't made the right food choices, or we don't have enough energy, right? So there isn't enough energy for that discipline later on in the day. So it's just noticing, what is it that I need? What would help me out? So coming back to the space of ego and shadow, in that space, you can step into, you kind of come into yourself a little bit, sit back, lean back, and then ask yourself, okay, let me step into that ego space, the energy of the ego rather than the ego itself. Because you don't want to be the critic. You want to access the confidence there and the power. And you can consult that person into where you find those holes in your day. So for example, if it was with the eating, it would be, you'd ask yourself in that space, the confident self, okay, what can I do to help? And there are professionals out there that definitely can help you with these things. But a lot of times, just having enough patience with yourself, you are your best critic, in the sense that you will know what you need best. And sometimes it's just that we spend too much energy in the beginning of the day. Or somebody said to me the other day that she had difficulty with sleeping. And a lot of times there are things, falling asleep at night. And if you're having a stimulated conversation with somebody, or you're problem solving after 6 or 7 o'clock at night, it's like having a coffee. Now, if you're having that coffee, that adrenaline is going to ramp up, and it's going to be difficult to get to sleep. So it's just taking some time to notice what it is that might be in the way, and then tweaking those things. So a great thing also to do is when you discover what it is that you are struggling with, or when you want to work on that optimal strength, you have to take the word that you find. So say, for example, if you want to say, I need more balance in my life, right? If you say, I find myself being really organized, really messy, and you find yourself at 2 different extremes, just using that as an example. And you say to yourself, I want to find more balance. What's very important to do is, when we're not finding balance, it's important to take that time to open a dictionary, or your own dictionary, which is your own translation of something, and ask yourself, what is my definition of balance? When I understand what I define balance as, right, then I get clarity of why I might be misfiring, or I might get clarity about how I'm getting there. So it's taking that. So for a lot of us, we are in a space where we're like, I can't do this. It's too hard. It's too complicated. And I'm going to remind you something. So I was listening to Rav Nissimi again on the Parsha this week. And he was talking about, he said, Hashem created Adam, and he created him Ma'at Me'elokim. He's just a little bit less than God, to the point that when the angels saw him, they thought he was God. So what God did was, he put him to sleep. It says, tardima, which is, he put him to sleep. And once Adam went to sleep, they were like, oh, that's not God. So in our life, coming to this topic, in our life, so much of who we are, we have so much inside of us, and so much of who we are is already within us. There is so many levels that we can reach, but the thing that we need to remind ourselves is that it's in your body, it's in you, it's within you. For a lot of us, we have these out-of-body experiences, either from trauma, or we believe that these spiritual experiences exist outside of who we are. We believe that answers are outside. We believe that there's so much out of this body. And the thing is, the answers are within us. And a really simple thing to do when you're unsure about something is to ask yourself, does this make me feel more connected? Does this make me feel lighter? Does this make me feel more balanced? Or does this take me outside of my body? because that's the thing, that we each have this, we're made of this light, it's like this pillar of flame, of a flame. Rabbi again says this. So he's like, it says lapid shel esh, which is like this pillar, right, of fire. And it's not of this world. It's something that's completely infinite. Our mind tells us that we have limitations, which in our physical body we might, but from a spiritual body we don't. The thing is, to be able to access our full potential within this body, we need to take some time to know what that light feels like, and what that energy feels like, and what that connection feels like. But it has to be done within the body itself. And this is the misconception, that for a lot of us, we're looking for something outside of the body. We're looking for this person to make us feel greater than ourselves. And that greatness is within you. And when you know that it's right, you feel whole, you feel full, and you're able to recognize yourself fully. So you're never broken, and you're never not whole. You're always whole. It's just how much are you able to recognize in yourself in a day. So it's like getting up in the morning. I ask, how much of you got up this morning, and how much of you did you leave in your bed? And sometimes if we even take that time and we just sit on the bed a second and say, okay, let me see, how much of me am I going to allow to connect today and be here and be whole and get up as a full, whole person, as we place feet on the ground and say Modani, we become a different person. So as you move through your day, you can think about some of this stuff. Notice if it makes a difference. Notice if it changes and shifts the way you operate. And notice if you can access that optimal strength within you to be able to gain more energy and flow and connection throughout your day. So thank you so much for joining. I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you so much.